guitar champion Tosin Abasi discussed the fact that Animals as leaders have no bass player and instead deliver the goods in two guitars and drums. There's actually no real story on why we ended up without a bassist. It was like Misha Mansoor when he was recording me for Animals as Leader's 2009 self-titled debut album. He had a process of not really using a bass guitar, but using the pitch shifter in Cubase. He would track the riff on clean guitar, single-note versions of the riff, so as if you're playing bass on clean guitar, and then he would pitch it down an octave. And I think it created kind of a fundamental sort of subby sort of bass that just worked with his mixes. So we were able to produce the first album with no bass guitar, but there are bass frequencies, because you can't have a mix without that. We knew we were gonna run tracks because I really like the synth players. We'd be playing to a click, and we'd be running tracks. And then it was like the bass parts weren't really anything other than foundational. So we started rehearsing before we found a bass player. We were using the backing tracks for synth and bass. He also asked, how do you record bass tracks now? He said, now we'll track bass, or we'll use sample packs of real basses, it depends. On Weightless, we tried to do totally electronic bass, so we didn't even attempt to make it sound like a bass guitar. And then with 2014's The Joy of Motion only Adam get good of periphery tracks some bass, and there's some Trillion. It's a very good sample pack. So it wasn't like, hey, let's start a band with no basses. It's just that we never found a bassist, and we were already playing shows. Oh, I guess this actually just works. Actually, some of my favorite musicians are bass players. Victor Wooten, Hadrian Farrow and Evan Marion and Evan Brewer. There's so many bass players who just shred.